Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So it took a little bit time to post the second video in the series for SQL Server beginners. But here is what we are going to do. In the last session we looked at how to install, how to create a database, and probably just few queries, and we will now be starting on looking at the T-SQL queries, like all sorts of joins and things like that. So this is just first in that series. So just to set the background, what I'm going to do is create two tables, simple ones, like one table employee and the other table department, and we are going to use department ID as a foreign key to employee table, and as well as we'll have one manager ID that will be referring to employee ID as a foreign key. So it's a self referential integrity, a column referring to the same table. So we are going to just create these two tables and look at few queries today, and we'll also look at how to create the tables, various ways to create the tables. If we want to generate the scripts for those tables, how we can do that, and things like that. So let's go and look at it. So I'm going to first, I just kept the background ready so that we don't spend time in clicking and showing you here and there. So I just right click on my database tables section here, clicked, and then I clicked on table, and here I come. So I am just going to go and create department ID with tiny int and department name with varchar 20, and just click on save here, or maybe I'm going to close this, and it should, let me see if my table is there. Okay, so let's create that department table. I'm sorry about that. So let's say department ID, and I'm going to call it as tiny int, and I am not going to allow nulls because I'm going to create a primary key on this column. So I go and set it as a primary key, and then I'm going to create dpt name as varchar, let's say 20. That should be pretty much enough for this column, and here I'm going to keep that allow nulls, so that's fine. And let's give name to this table as department, right? So I'm going to save this. So similarly, this is the one that again I'm creating employee ID, first name, last name, manager ID, DPT ID, and designation. So this DPT column is what we are going to refer to as a foreign key from the department table, and then the manager ID is going to be referred to as a foreign key from the employee ID column. So let's do that. So to set up the relationship, so first of all I if you see, I have set up the employee as a primary key. If you say cannot be changed until do you want, I say yes, that's fine. So now I go and click on employee ID, and I'm going to create the primary key on my employee ID, and let's look at how do we create a foreign key from this wizard kind of stuff. So if you go here again, you will see something called as create relationships. Click on that and then say add relationship. So and mainly the thing that you need to do is go here and say what is your primary key table. So I want to create a foreign key on the department ID column, which is going to be referred into my department ID column of employee. And then the other thing I want to do is I want to also refer the manager ID as the employee ID from the same table. So what I'm going to do is employee ID primary key table, and this is employee. So let me close this. I think I'm going to close all this because I had created that table already. It is not showing me properly, but if you see, my department must have been created. So let's create our employee ID table, employee table. So here I'm going to say employee ID, and it's very, I'll do it very quickly. First to name and give it as a varchar, let's say 20, last name varchar 20, and then you can give dept id as tiny int, and then you can give manager id as int, and let's say designation. So anyways, I'm not going to create this table from here. I have a script as well. That's another way that I'm going to show you, but just to see how do you do it from this wizard, you can go here, set the employee id as a primary key, and now let's add the relationships that we talked just now. So let's go here, add, and what are the columns I need to refer is, first of all, I want to refer employee id to my manager id. So this is how you set up that. And okay, so it says the length is not matching or data type is not matching, so manager id we set int. Okay, you know what, this should have been int for us. So let's go back then go here and again say add and refer to department, and then the department id to the department id. Okay, so now I have these two relationships defined here, and I can close this and I can say save. That will create my table, and I can name it as employee. So this is how you create the foreign key relationships and primary key relationships while creating the table. So I'm just going to close out of here, and what we are going to do is actually drop these tables, because I want to show you the other way you can do it from scripts as well. So let's say drop table, and by the way, this is the way you actually drop the table, or you can right click on the object explorer and also drop it from there, like saying delete table. So let's drop this table, right? And what I have is, I have the script here for, so I'm using the learning DB, and then I have the script to create all those objects. So first it will drop, and then if it exists it will drop, and if not it will create. So if you need the script, I can post it in the comment section. So let's run this so that it will create my tables, right? And then let's go back here, and here I am actually inserting the data into the table. So department has 4 records, and then I'm inserting records into employee table. I'm just giving some employee IDs here, and if you see now I'm making this 1000 as a manager to this guy, then 1001 manager to this guy, and things like that. So this is how I'm going to insert the data, and we are going to look at now the quick queries, start writing quick queries on this. So I got 4 records in my department, and I'm going to create this records here now. So let's set a new query here, and if you see, select star from employee, so that returns me all the columns from all the data for all the columns from my employee table. And if I do select star from department, it returns me all the records from the department table. So now let's say, right, let's introduce a basic join stuff here. So now I have the data in my employee table, and what I want to do is I want to show the name of the employee, I mean the employee ID, the name of the employee, first name, last name, and then show what is the name of the department. So now if you see here, I just have a department ID. So the basic thing you need to use here is a inner join. So I'm going to do select right now, let's say star from employee, and you can give an alias called, let's say EMP, and I'm going to do inner join, with of course department table, and let's say dpt as a alias name. And how do you want to join this is on emp dot dpt id is equal to dpt dot dpt id, right? So this is so this will like join the department column with the department table from employee and department, and so we'll have the data for what we need. Like, so I'm going to say emp dot let's say first name, then emp dot last name, comma, I'm going to say now I want the department ID, so I can still use emp dot dpt id, and then I say dpt dot dept name, because my department table has the department name. So let's execute this query. So see, I have this employee list and I have the department names as well for them. So this is how it is, if you see here, right? Now if you see, I have 8 records in my department table, but when I fire this query, I am getting only 6 records. And why is that? Because if you look at, there are 2 records in my employee table where there is no department yet assigned, probably the newly joined employees, so department is not assigned to them, and that is where the join has to be changed. If I want to show all the records from all my I mean from all the records from employee table, then I would have to change this inner join to something called as left join. So let's quickly take a look at that. So let's do this is a left join, right? And if you see, now I should be able to see all 8 records from my employee table, but of course since I don't have department ID, I will see their name as department name as null here or blank here. So I think that's the 2 queries that I wanted to show you. I am just going to create, as I last time mentioned, only 10 minutes video, pretty fun. It should be pretty easy for you to watch and follow through. And I just wanted to show you one important feature. Actually, if you right click on the, for example, I have the scripts here. Now, how do I get this nice written scripts here? So the tables when I created, then what I did is I went here, I went to the task, and then I said generate scripts, and then follow this wizard, and I'm going to say I want to create the scripts for the specific object. So I selected my 2 tables from here, go here, go to the advanced section, and I want to check for object existence, and then I want to create the script for both create and drop. So drop and create, so you can select it here or you can double click on that, and rest of the stuff I'm going to say no, keep it as default, click OK. And where do I want to save the results, I mean the query coming out of this wizard? I'm going to say new query window. If you click next and next, and then you click on finish, you should be getting the script generated in a new query editor window for you. So this is the way you actually generate the scripts for your particular objects. So this is pretty small stuff I wanted to start it with on the second video. I will be back with my third just in couple of days. Thank you so much for your time. And